flexing on everybody today.
Not at all.
Not at all. He's Snoop Dogg crept out.
yeah. And he got
Trying to look like it's like a studious thug. Look, it's like I vote.
You vote.
I like education.
It's
but
like it's all the like stereotypical shows where the cat from the hood gets the private school because his test scores is high. Like that's you right now. It's like you grew up in Linwood.
Yep.
And then Cal Baptist let you in to school.
Yeah. I still got to go back and get some Cal Baptist merch, but then.
Nah, I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
You're past that.
Do you guys have a non-denom section? Okay,
You made it to Oxford.
Yeah. You got a one-day teaching by NT Wright, so you're technically an Oxford student.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
I think that's more than, a lot of the students that are at Oxford get with NT Wright, too. You got 3 hours with him or whatever.
Yeah. He just comes up there. Here's just some thoughts I've been thinking about Isaiah 40 through 55. It just starts.
And went through 3 verses.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Jeez. All right. Are we rolling? Yeah, we rolling, Gabe. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Beyond I Do.
Yes.
You may have seen the thumbnail. You may have seen who's at the panel, and you thought, man, did I click a Beyond the Letter episode? Where's Ashley? Where Aaron got a little bit more melanin than her. He changes his hairstyle as much as her, so
I've been locked in recently, but I'm thinking about changing it. I'm thinking about changing it top of the year.
So if you change, what's the vibes?
Might go bald again.
Oh no, we don't want that.
All right, then I'm gonna grow it out a little bit. Grow it out a little bit.
Keep the waves.
People going bald is because they have to, not because they want to. You got stuff up there, so you don't have to go bald. Yeah, there may be a day you do, so just appreciate what you have right now.
Just right this way. Got it.
Yeah, so we got an all-male panel in the house because our wives are all... Did Cass go too? Cass is up.
Yes.
So all of our wives are on a women's ministry cruise where they praying, worshiping, but really I think they're just trying to get away from all of us.
So I thought my wife was praying and worshiping right now. I'm getting the mail. I'm looking through things, and all of a sudden I hear it in the ring cam. What are you doing? I'm like, leave me alone. Aren't you at a cruise right now? So she's looking on the ring cameras.
Get back with the lady.
Yeah. That's exactly how it is. So our wives are on a women's ministry cruise thing that our church put on, and so they announced it like over a year ago, and it sold out. So some people may be part of our church that we lead and be like, I've never heard them talk about it. Well, because over a year ago they talked about it, I think once, and it sold out. So they're with 300 women. So with Ashley being gone, it was like, okay, well, normally what we do is we crank in a couple episodes, make sure that we can, be ready if we're both not available. But I thought, well, man, we're perfect time. They've done some women's ones for, I think, Beyond the Letter. I don't think ever Beyond I Do. But I thought, what a perfect time then. We'll do a Beyond I Do men's one, but really with like my core community and accountability. So I got Aaron on the table. I got Aaron with an H. So we just call him H. Mm-hmm. And then I got my brother Nathan. And so these are my guys that, like, if you ever listen to the podcast and I'm referring to like my community, my accountability, how I say we got each other on check with the way that we, talk outside, and we want our husbands, we want each other to be able to, speak to our wives and keep each other accountable. Like, these are the guys that I'm talking about. And there's a few others that are in my life that help with this, but these are my main 3 that over the years I've said, most of them have my location at all times, access to certain things. Like Phil's not in here too, but Phil has access to like all of my calendars, so it's like really my community, my accountability. So they're here today.
Yep.
Okay. So what I thought was we could take a conversation wherever. We don't ever talk ahead of time of like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. So what we're going to talk about is, what is the worst thing you've ever done to your spouse? No, I'm just playing.
That's one of those Nathan icebreakers. Right. Let's just settle in some lighthearted conversation. What's your worst regret in life and why?
Yeah, one time we're all at dinner and Nathan's like ahead of time, like real proud, like, hey, I got some dinner conversation that, some stuff that just will get conversation rolling. And we're like, oh yeah, okay, for sure. And we sit down and he goes, Okay, we're all going to take turns. What is your biggest regret in life? And everybody looks at each other like,
I'm just trying to eat.
Check, please.
yeah, like,
I didn't mean it deep.
I'm sorry, we gonna cry? Like you want my wife to cry? It's gonna be the worst night ever. Like she's gonna. Ashley's over there. Like my biggest regret was not saying I love you to that one guy and having to be with Adam. You know, like oh, wrong regret. No. That guy I met at summer camp one time. Okay. So we're not gonna do those. What we'll do is. Over the years, and we take conversation where we go from here, but over the years, how have you, processed your own need for being married, having your spouse, but also what's very common with a lot of couples is like it's just us, it's not, we fight together, we internalize together, we process together, and that's it, right? We're like all of us. We've all taken the approach where we're like, man, no, I share my burdens with my community. Me and my wife may even, but even me personally, like, I fight to be authentic, but also fight to be transparent.
Yeah.
And we've all had our own different moments over the years where we've all like spoken life into each other's spouses, and we make sure we get time that all of us like get away to as couples to like speak into each other's life, but also cheerlead and champion. So at what point over the years for you guys, because it's not innate, no one just like gets married and it's like, okay, we're gonna find people we to do life with, let's just close our eyes and pick. It's like it's developed over time. So individually for each of you guys, like at what point, if you can remember, was a point that you realized like, man, I really need to open my life up to other people in this marriage game, this relationship game, so that I don't feel so isolated or feel like I'm doing this thing by myself. When do you guys think? Whichever one wants to take it first. Or at what point have you realized, was there a particular moment that you were like, oh, I'm already doing it, but this moment was really beneficial and makes me realize how important this is? So I think you could take it that way too.
I could start as a Christian, starting to serve at church. I started learning the biblical benefits of community. And then serving at a mega church like ALFC Rancho, the church became more of like what ministry you're in. So like you would gather on Sundays, but then now you're in community with who you serve with. So I remember when I first started serving in youth, I didn't know other Christian marriages struggled and talked about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that other husbands were free enough to say, yo, my wife's really getting on my nerves today, and this isn't it. Can you pray for this? I'm like, yo, so starting to see it modeled as a Christian man. Yeah. I started seeing the benefits of community as a Christian man. So then you just start having that in other areas of your life. Mm-hmm. So like, man, if I'm benefiting by sharing parts of my life with other men, now it takes risk, it takes courage, but like, man, I think I could have more benefit in sharing aspects of my marriage. So then I started, I think it takes time because you don't have chemistry with everybody. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's a safe place.
For sure.
But organically, as you see people and you see marriages that have the same values or trying to go the same way, like, so I've seen husbands that like, I really want my wife to feel special. I really want to serve God in how I please my wife. I've seen, husbands that have wives it's a delight to submit to their husbands. That's like, man, that's attractive. Mm-hmm. I want more of that in my life, and it's being intentional of just starting to ask those men questions.
Yeah.
And as that becomes more safe and as God allows, relationships start forming. But then I think like for accountability, because I like what you said, a community and then accountability, because a lot of times for men, it's like, who's your accountability partner? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm not telling you my business. I don't know you. You don't know me. Right?
Yeah.
But the more that we're in community, the more I feel safe to let you know more parts about me. Mm-hmm. So I've been around husbands or I've been around married couples where it's like, we trust each other enough that there's a disagreement happening, but it's within the space of the couples. Mm-hmm. And then that just kind of normalizes the culture of safety. So I think all of us have had times where it's like, right now I'm having a disagreement with my wife. And the way that I'm talking to my wife right now is just like how we would be in our room. But it's safe enough in front of Heron, in front of Nathan, in front of Adam, because I know they love me, they love Erica, and they're on Team Jesus.
Yeah.
So I got to have men in my life that's not going to be like, okay, how can Aaron win this argument? I got to have men that pull me aside to say, well, when you were sharing this with her, yeah, that's how you felt, but are you still there? Do you need healing?
sure.
How blah, 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 you know? So it's like, once people see that modeled in other marriages, then I feel like it's safe enough to start, okay, you know what? Then this is where I'm at. It's unscheduled, but I need help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's an element that, like, okay, you take the four of us, for instance, where we've all all of us individually together hang out, but also, you know, with our spouses, we go away at different times together, and like this year, we all went away for 3 days with our spouses, and we spend dedicated time together and all that. And I think what you slowly realize is, like, though we're all friends, we're all very different at the same time. Like, we're not carbon copies of each other, not even in our own approach, right? Like, we all have our different strengths. So, like, if I trying to make it very practical for people. So, like, if you take Aaron in his relationship with Erica, on top of many other things that are a strength, Aaron's strength when you're around him and Erica is Aaron very much outwardly loves Erica. Like, Aaron, you know, he holds her, he holds her hand, you know, his words are very, you know, complimenting towards her, and like, and so there's not like an emotional love, but just more of an exterior love that you're like, dang, man, that's dope how Aaron talks to Erica, and, you know, he flirts with her and all this stuff, where, you know, I don't do as much of that with Ashley, right? And then you look at H with his relationship with Cass. In a lot of ways, H is like very sacrificial, like every day takes his kids to school, and Cat, like, as a man, I don't know that I would take my boys to school every single day. And Heron takes his kids to school every day, drops them off every morning, on top of many other things. But you're just like, dang, Heron has this like sacrificial love for his family that he's going to do whatever he's got to do to make it work. And you're just like, man, that's really dope. Nathan has a very beautiful way around like making sure time is precious between him and Sanaa. So you talk to Nathan, he's, you know, scheduling date nights and making sure, oh, we got a day where we could drop my kids off at my mom's, let's go down to Newport for 24 hours. For me, I'm like, that's such an inconvenience. Why would you go for 24 hours somewhere? You know, but then you're also like, man, but it's dope, because then they dress up and they, you know, go on a date, and it's like really dope. And so you're like, oh, wow. So there's these things that, like, as you get into community, you know, you every person's strength is different, but also each person's weakness is different.
Yeah.
And like the moment you really start getting in community, it's like sitting there and the spouse is like, I would really love if my husband would do this more. And I'll sit there, I'll be like, well, but that's my strength. Like I can help H with that. Like that's my strength. I'm really good at that. Or like, you know, a spouse is like, we just don't go on dates enough. We don't unplug it. Nathan's like, bro, that's my game. Like this is what I do, you know, like, and so, but also in the weaknesses, you could look at someone and be like, bro, help me. I don't know what I'm doing, you know. I don't know how to, like, I'm a workaholic. So for me, it's like for the longest, I was like, I'd look over at Nathan and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. All I want to do is work. And like anything outside of that is work, you know, like, and so really getting outside of yourself helps you evaluate and see, like, so for you guys, is anything bubble at the top, like, as I say that, like with your strengths, but also in your weaknesses, like, have you seen a growth in your weaknesses being in community, so that a way that it really does benefit your marriage, you know, in that way? It, you know, anyone?
Well, very transparently, we're coming off of a week last week where we spent some time together. And so for myself, like I pride myself on being a good father. I pride myself on being a good husband. But the beauty of what you just said is when you welcome and allow that community in, you welcome not only the encouragement, but it's also, how can I come alongside and help with your weaknesses? And so my wife was very transparent, because we do life together, with an area that she felt I was neglecting her in when it came to my leadership as a husband to her. And so for me, as I'm processing, of course, it was hard to hear in that moment. You know, we're spending an hour talking about Nathan's faults and failures. And so for me, it was very hard. But, I'm sitting there and I'm processing because I want to do better for my wife. But at the same time, I'm like staring at myself in the mirror. And so for me, your flesh rises up for a moment, but I'm so grateful that as we continue to talk through what this community and our accountability allowed us to do was for me to really see a weakness that I had, that I thought I was providing for my wife, but I wasn't. And so through our conversation and my wife having the comfortability to share where she was feeling, and then you guys as my brothers to be able to not only speak into her but speak directly towards me. Hey, I think this is where maybe you're gifted in, but I am not able to provide that, in some area that I need to begin to learn in and begin to approach her differently in, where I may be providing it to others a little bit more freely. My wife needs it just the same or even more. And so for me, it was very humbling to talk through that, to see that weakness in me, but realize like I want to do better. And so, that moment just reminded me, like, I think it's you theologians would know in James, where, we're encouraged to confess our sins and to pray with one another to be healed. And so that was one of my reflections in walking away from that conversation last week, because through my wife's confession of where she was feeling allowed me to have to confess some things. And obviously we sealed it in prayer. But my desire is because I want to be healed in that area when it comes to being a husband to my wife and being a leader to her. So for me, like, that's just more of a more recent account, but a very real one and transparent one that, like, I could have easily shut down and been like, y'all stay out.
We're not going there.
We're not going. I know what's going on. Like, she's going through something or whatever. Like, I got it. Like, I'll handle it. But that's not what this circle's about. And I'm grateful for that, because I told Aaron yesterday, like, we had a really great week. Like, there are steps we are being proactive in that I can do better in. And so that only came from the health of having that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. You got anything on that, H?
Yeah, just recently too. When we were at that conference, and I see.
Oh yeah. We're all
I
in
see
Texas
Pastor
together.
Aaron texting his wife. He mentioned I'm gonna write a thank you sorry letter to my wife. So I'm like, man, like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And so, I get back home and she's like, hey, what'd you learn? Because, she talks to all the wives.
Yeah. Everyone
apologized and you haven't apologized. And I'm like, I'm stupid. Why haven't I apologized? And so I said, one thing that I'm learning the process is to communicate.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm learning from you three is communication is key. And I think for me, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, and sometimes I do a lot of internalizing things, and I just keep it in my head. Yeah. And then it just goes away. So, so just seeing that from your life, Nathan, and your life, Adam, like, just communication is key. And hearing that from you just recently, I broke down, and I'm like, I'm sorry, babe. Like, I need to, that's one thing I need to work on is over communication, because sometimes I'll communicate to her
for sure,
but then she processes things differently than me. So she wants everything. She wants the details. She wants the time, so I'm like, all right, so just growing in that area for me and working on that weakness has really confronted me to work on that weakness of just not communicating well, so
and like in your version of like love is also like, for you it's your loyalty. So to you, you're like,
for sure,
you're like one of the things, like if H, like, let's just say we all are going somewhere together, Aaron's gonna come with like a box of donuts for everyone in the morning. Aaron's gonna come with like a bag from the 7-Eleven and have like candy and Gatorades and be like, yo, communal thing. Like, even in college we called him snacks, because it was just like, for Aaron it's like, oh, I love you because I'm here, right? Like, if I don't care about you, I'm not here. I love you because I'm talking to you, right? Because I don't talk to people that I don't care about. Like, I love you because I brought you. I thought immediately, when we're on a road trip, who's going to have snacks? Aaron's coming in. He's like, man, I got the snacks. So it's like, where your words aren't, there's all these other things that you do that fill in for it. But like, when you're married, they're like, you get used to what your husband's strength is, right? It's like, well, Aaron's always going to have donuts. He does that for everybody. And it's like, well, that is a way that he loves. It's a version of his love because H is more quiet. But it's like, but just because I am strong at that doesn't mean that I'm allowed to just let my weakness continue if my spouse is saying, hey, I want more from you. I want more conversation. For us, I think we all felt that way because one of my mentors, Gerald Brooks, and we were at his leadership conference, and he, for the first time ever, because he's a leadership guru, for the first time ever, he approached marriage in leadership. And he's never done that. And so we're all sitting there. I mean, he's literally a genius in all things. He's never touched marriage. Even the point that I told him, hey, when you come to our roundtable next year, I said, are you going to do those marriage lessons? He said, oh, no, that was just for conference. I was like, you need to do those marriage lessons when you come to our church for the leadership roundtable. And he was like, okay, I'll do them just for you. So I'm like, so then because I want other pastors to come, because it was just rich. Yeah. The way Gerald approaches things is very much like systematically, and like there were, and I'm going to repeat them all the time, but there were some things like he said, which is like, you know, as a man, like take H's example, like he's a man of not many words. So Gerald's like basically like, hey, it's okay. Like when you go to work as a guy, you have to, most men don't talk a lot. And so when you go to work, you have to talk a lot. And, you know, most men, we don't really want to talk a lot. So you figure by the time you get home, I've already used up all my words, you know, like I've spoke all day, you know. So you go home and you're like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to my wife. I don't want, you know. And Gerald goes, he basically says, it's okay that your wife doesn't have to have your most words, but she needs to have your best words. And it was just like, shoot, come on, man. Like, because he took it in such a leadership way that like he was, because most marriage communicators will be like, no, your wife needs your words. So when you come home, and if it's contrary to kind of your personality, then you go like, well, then I don't feel like I'm authentically myself. So Gerald basically approaches to say, it's okay if you come home and you don't want to talk a lot, but when you do talk, those words better be the best words you've said all day. Yeah. And it was just like, dang, yeah, you're right. Even the point that Aaron and we all looked at each other like we were just a piece of crap was Aaron, momently when we get out of the session, our hotel's like at a local mall, and Aaron runs to Nike and he gets shoes for Erica and Aaron goes, because whenever I'm at stuff like this, I think about getting stuff for myself. I want to think about Erica first. And I want her to know when I was here, I was thinking about her. But that came from the session. That's not what you normally do, right?
It came from the session, and it came from Nathan, because we were in there looking at shoes.
Nathan does a lot,
And Nathan, and that's the thing, he never says it, but anytime we're in a store, he moseys around to see what can I get for Sanaz. Every time.
Yeah, he doesn't go to men's first. He goes to a store. He's like, let me check for Sanaz first, and then I'll go look for myself.
He did that when you guys hit me up when I was taking a nap. You're like, hey, we're at a shoe spot. Come through. So when I came through, he was looking for something for Sanaz. That's when I bought some shoes for Erica. I didn't get shoes for me. So
I got shoes for me.
You had the ones that trigger me.
5 lined up.
You were every time we traveled out. So H is like, and we all go to H. Should we get these? Don't get those. Those are canceled. Okay,
we got to culture and everything. Okay. Is this shirt cool? Here it's like, you cool.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine. So H is like, you get these. I was like, okay, you know. So I get the shoes. I take them back to the room, and as I'm in the elevator, I'm thinking, dude, I need to apply what I was learning all day. And then I was looking at Nathan on the other side. I said, I'm going back and I'm looking for Erica.
Oh, so you didn't even do it the first time?
No. I was taking shoes back for me.
Oh, you bought yourself shoes.
Self-care.
First.
Well, I saw you had 2 I wasn't there. I was somewhere else the first part. So I came later and I saw that you had 1 shoe. Later on when we left, I saw you had 2 shoes. I figured you got Erica 2 shoes. But no. You got 1 pair, and then the Holy Spirit spoke to you.
Correct.
Yeah. And then everyone else is sitting there, and they're like, "Man, it's so dope." Aaron gets Erica's shoes, and he's like,
"I got mine in the room too."
I got mine too. Yeah, that's right. It was like, I mean, but yeah, to your guys' point, like learning together, fellowshipping together, being accountable to each other. You know, like. It's so critical because then you can process out loud. Yeah. Because like as Aaron was processing out loud, Aaron wasn't like, I figured this out. This is what I do. No, Aaron, we all went to dinner later on that night, and Aaron was like, no, what Gerald said, bubbled a conviction, but more than anything, seeing what Nathan is really good at, which is what he does. That's what helped me apply it right away, Because we all left, and you leave it, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be a better husband. But how?
Yeah.
And it's so
It's
dope
like-
for men to see it modeled. Not enough men see it modeled because they don't avail themselves to community. So it's like a lot of men will see, man, I want to be a leader like that. I want my wife and I to have teamwork like that. But they won't go up to that man and ask that man questions.
For sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like when the Lord opens doors for you to have good relationship, and then you see something you want that you see modeled, then you just got to take action in your own context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. And I think and things operate, to give people a picture, because people are like, oh man, it's beautiful. I wish I had something like that. Well, theoretically speaking, in some ways, like the relationship at first, it started with me and Heron. We met in college. Nathan at the time was like, he was my friend, he was my brother, but we didn't exercise community together in that way. So like me and Heron, we meet each other, 14 years ago, 15 years ago in college. We develop a relationship, and then and then years down the line, we stay connected. Eventually, he goes into full-time ministry and seminary, and then he comes and joins the staff, and it's like, it's me and him. Then Nathan gets married and Heron's single, and then it's like, and then me and Nathan, we have our brotherly relationship, but then I get married with Ashley, and then Heron's my friend. He's who I'm doing with. I've always been community accountability with Heron on a one-on-one level, not in a relationship marital level. So then here's me and Nathan. We commit with me, Ashley, Nathan, and Sanaz. Hey, we're going to do life together. Then me and Ashley get married, and Heron meets Cass. And then Heron brings Cass into the fold, and then Cass has to make a decision. Am I going to rock with these people? Because she could immediately tell Heron, no, I don't care that you've known him since college. I don't like them. Let's turn around. Then there immediately goes H. See you, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you when we hang out twice a year. We're not like, so then now the person he marries is critical to make his decision to be like, Heron's always been my one-on-one friend. Is Heron and Cass going to join this tribe? Right. Yeah. It's like, so everyone's got to be making these feelers, and there's seasons. This has happened over 14 years and decisions where someone could have been offended, someone could have been hurt, someone could have been. And how do we talk about it? How do we address it? How do we say, I'm sorry or whatever? Cass has a totally different career than any of our wives. Our wives have more flexibility in their schedule. Aaron, your wife is a nurse practitioner. She can move her schedule around. She can work 4 days nonstop and then take a week and a half off. Cass is a school teacher, so school's in session, so we're like, oh, let's go up and do this. Cass is like, I can't. I'm school. Let me know in the summer. Yeah. I could do something in the summer. So it's like within that, there's so many variables, but we've seen over the years, and then Aaron joined staff, and Aaron's just on staff. Aaron has his own community he's rocking with, his own thing, and then slowly, like, we start getting close to Aaron because, like, oh, we're cut from the same cloth. Oh, your wife is dope. Our wives start talking. They become friends. And so I just say all that to say, like, it's not, and I tell people all the time, like, if they ever want to talk about my community, I go, Aaron's been the most recent addition, and that was 7 years ago, 6 years ago. So I'm like, it's been rocking now pretty consistent because, like, that has been my recent closest friend,
Right.
and 6 to 7 years ago is a pretty long time. But hopefully that's how community operates, where, you see with kind of more immature relationships, because we've all had reasons to beef. We've all had reasons to be offended. We've all shared our own reasons to be offended with each other. We've all had our moments, either our wives or with each other, like, hey, this is where I'm not feeling connected, or our wives like, hey, this is, you're dealing with wives. One always sometimes feels alienated. I know there's times with Ashley, she's like, oh, I feel like Sanaz and Erica are closer right now. But then you go ask Sanaz, and Sanaz like, I thought Ashley and Erica were closer. And then it's like, oh, and Ashley and Cass are talking and hanging out or whatever. So you have a lot of stuff that you're like dealing with. But the maturity just says, you push through all that stuff.
Push through it.
You gotta put it on the table, and you gotta work it out.
Absolutely.
And we work together.
Right.
Like, so I
yelling at each other, or budgets
correcting
misaligned
each
or whatever.
other, drop balls, you know. So it's like, I didn't meet you guys as friends. I met you guys as bosses. Right. Coming from the corporate space. So I knew you from youth. I didn't know Nathan like that. So Nathan's my manager. So for me, like, I just want to represent Jesus, work well for the church, blah, 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 blah. But you had asked earlier about a moment. It was a moment where Nathan and Sanaz invited me and Erica to lunch at Brio. And then they bought Erica something for her birthday. Walls start coming down for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, coming from corporate, that never happens. Okay, you care about my wife. Okay, I care about Erica.
Yeah.
And you guys are demonstrating you care about my wife. Was good. That gave me more of a leaning in. And that was probably 2017, 18. Years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like these moments, but that doesn't equal now we're best friends.
Yeah.
But there's these mental notes of me starting to pay attention more to Nathan and Sanaz's marriage to be able to see, oh wait, there's some things I can learn here. Because I would just talk to him about leadership and, hey, what do you think about this decision? Execute evaluation, but then it's risky.
Yeah.
It's risky, but that's what spiritual maturity's for. That's what humility is for.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like in your case for us, it was, you had been on staff now and you had led our business ministry, blah, blah, blah. But then the moment you launched a campus for us, that was like I was instructed to basically create our campus model. So then it's like you and I had to start rocking very closely to launch Pomona originally. So you and I are running the streets of Pomona. You and I are doing one-on-ones in Fox Theater, and we're filming in front of Fox Theater, and I'm telling you to start an Instagram and all this stuff like that. And then
Hey, bro, can you get on social media?
But just to give a picture, because I think we create this idea in our head. It's like you meet someone and you just go like, oh, they're going to be my BFF.
Yeah.
Or let's take them to dinner and me and my wife are going to ask them to be our accountability. Like,
It don't work like that.
because that's how people pitch it to me. Like, hey, Adam, I hear you talking about community and accountability. Like, how do I pick someone? Do I just look for, and it's like, we fantasize everything. Like, no, that's not how it works. Each person was very different. Nathan's my brother, and it was through me and Ashley almost getting a divorce that caused us to get close with them because we desperately needed them. Heron's my college friend, my best friend in college, and over the years, that knitted in its own way. And then as he got married, his wife was down for it, And then Aaron, ours was just a work relationship.
For sure.
It was, I have a job to do. My boss is my dad. He told me to launch a campus. He told me to figure it out. We got this guy who's going to do it. I have to work with him. And then it was like, oh, dude, he's a good hang. He's dope, man. I see him with his wife. Man, that's really dope. I think,
tell me if you remember this during that season, because it made me think about those moments. Because we were driving from Fox Theater, but it was a time where you were surprising Ashley with like a trip to Disney World or something like that years ago.
Was it? Yeah, it was. I was being sent to a conference in Hawaii, and I was able to get.
Yes.
Awalani was had construction, and so they had 1 week only when they were renovating the pool. That it was the exact same cost of what I was approved to spend on the conference hotel.
So I saw your excitement. I saw your. Now I'm seeing your passion and your creativity for the Fox Theater. Blah blah blah. I saw more in you when you were talking about your wife. Those were those moments. Yeah. Because that's why I came to ALFC. All the way back from the beginning. I'm in a blended family. I don't know how to do this. So I'm seeing these moments. Again, that doesn't equal we're best friends. I still got to honor the process. But then it's like guards come down where I can just start asking more questions have my life more open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like, for me, intentionally, like, this is how we had done it over the years. Now I think we're pretty happy with where our community's at. But early on, when it kind of just felt like, because we had gone, at least me and Ashley, and Nathan was a part of that, H was part of that. We had gone through, and just like Aaron's own personal life too, we had gone through cycles of community and relationship. And we had one group for a couple years, and then, some things went sour between a couple of the couples, and then we had another group, and unfortunately their Christian walk wasn't what it was, and they didn't want to really, be discipled the way that we were on the discipleship train together. And so that didn't work. And so kind of what we would consistently do is, like, if I knew I had Nathan and I knew I had Heron, we would talk to each other and just be like, not that we were looking to always add people or whatever, but it would just be like, hey, is there a couple, let's all go to dinner on Friday night. Is there like a couple that, like, maybe one of us feels like, we should invite to dinner.
Yeah.
It didn't automatically make them part of the crew. We did that a lot, but it was just us open to the horizon that like, God, if you would have another person, you know, in this season that you would want us to do life with, you know, we're open to it. And so we would go to dinner and we would invite a couple and it would be like, oh, they were cool.
Yeah.
I don't feel anything other than, I enjoyed them. They were great, but I didn't. And then it was like, hey, Aaron works with us and he's fun. Like I've been working with him. He's really dope. I like the way he talks about his daughters. Love the way he talks about Erica. We should invite them to dinner with us sometime.
Yeah.
And then once you able to disconnect from kind of all the other fluff, right?
Yeah.
The church fluff,
Right.
the working together fluff, and then you're
Yeah.
just at a dinner table, and then you're like, oh, that's a dope couple.
Yeah.
And then you just start progressing, you know, that relationship, and eventually it goes from, you know, these dinners you're having every once in a while to then there's a group text that gets together, and then, you know, there's memes being thrown around, or there's a, hey, my kid's sick, can you pray for us?
Yeah.
And they're in there encouraging, and then the wives are jumping, and then it's a slow progression that builds over years. It just doesn't happen overnight.
No.
You know, it's not. And I'm just trying to get. And for us, in our case as husbands, we have been leading that
For
in a
sure.
lot of areas.
For
Like
sure.
our wives have their own friends, and Ashley has her own friends
Right.
and her own people. But like for us, it's a lot of us
Yeah.
who have been like, hey, we got to get the wives together. Hey,
For
we got to
sure.
go.
Yeah.
You know, like which taps in male leadership
sure.
in the home. You know.
But I think that the timing essence is critical because like
Yeah.
what you just said in terms of like the past relationships, Sanaz and I directly guilty of like jumping too soon with, you know, favoring a couple to be like, oh, they're dope. Let's bring them into that and getting burned along the way. And it's not going to be perfect all the time, but partly that was our fault too, because you have big eyes and you think like the potential of what this relationship or dynamic could be. But the reality is this here is solely the fruit of obviously God, but time.
Yeah.
Time from cross directions in many ways. And then obviously our wives being involved.
Yeah, and there are times that your spouse is going to be offended by another spouse.
For
and
sure.
There's times you guys are going to whatever, and you have to have enough maturity. There's so many. I even got a text from Sanaz this morning as an example that, you know, last night I said something and it was miscommunicated. Right, it wasn't what I had meant, but she took it the way it sounded, which it was I sounded, right? She was just, you know, so she texted me like, hey, if I said something last night that overstepped, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, it's fine. It wasn't that. It was, I've been traveling so much. I'm not trying to be hard on the boys. That's it. I just didn't want the boys to, Matthias was crying last night because we've traveled so much. Like, I'm just trying to navigate this life of ministry. And me and Ashley have been gone for, 15 days out of the past 30 days, so I'm like, that's all it was. But it was even the care of her to be like,
For
hey,
sure.
if I overstepped, I'm sorry. Like, no, you didn't overstep. I just, no, we're good. But that takes maturity that you have to be able to address it. And if she did offend me, I would have said, yeah, I'm sorry. It rubbed me wrong. And and then we move on. We have to be able to
For sure.
go to coffee the next day
For
or all
sure.
hang Friday. Like, you have to have
have
enough
to.
maturity to be like, we dealt with it. We addressed it. We forgive. We walk forward. If you don't, then that's when stuff starts sitting in your heart. And you start looking at intent sour,
Yeah.
and you start going, well, I think I care more about them than they care about me. I think we're more bought into this than they're bought. How much do you think they spent on your birthday gift? Because I feel like we spent more on our birthday gift for them. It's like, because you do that. People do that.
For sure.
And if you let that stuff sit, that's where you're going to potentially lose out on great relationships. It's just like family. Think about how many times your family offend you, but you're going to see them next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get, for us, it's like, to me, I've made that decision. Hey, this is my family. There's almost nothing they can do or say that ain't going to get me to still be in the game with them.
Yeah.
Like, same way I view my parents, same way I view my in-laws,
Right.
but like, this is my community in that way. There's going to be times that they offend me, hurt me, annoy me. We have fun together. That is the process of family. That's the process of community. You can't get the good without some of the bad of relationship. When you just do life with people, comes with it.
Yeah.
People get on your nerves. People say stuff that you don't like. And I just go, okay, tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah. I think sometimes also for married couples, not every single couple's spouses will be as close.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
there could be scenarios where me and Nathan are super close. Erica and Sanaz don't rock as close. That could be a scenario, but that doesn't exempt me from tapping into what's making me a better husband. So I would just say, like, don't force wives, or wives don't force husbands. Okay, you got to be Aaron's best friend because I really like,
for sure.
As long as when I'm with Nathan, he's team Jesus and not team Aaron, because then that's another element to where it's like, if the spouse doesn't rock all the time, then they're going to have a bias.
Yeah,
for
right?
sure.
Oh, well, Erica disrespected you.
Right.
No.
sure.
So, but just healthy accountability, irrespective of, like, sometimes the couples are great friends, but all couples need safe people that makes them a better wife, makes them a better husband.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyone want to add anything else on it?
I'm grateful for you all.
Yeah. But I think that's, like, to me, that's a standout stuff. It takes time. Not every person you meet or hang out first is going to be those people you do life with.
Yeah.
We've had dozens of iterations of that. And also, dozens have our own independent friends, as well. I'll go, Aaron will have a birthday party for Erica, and Aaron's got some of his best friends there that he's known for decades. Mm-hmm. And, we dap each other up, and we know, I'll go to a thing Aaron has, and he's got people there that he's playing pickleball with every day. And I don't go and be like, hey, who are these people? Get these clans out of here. He's like, oh, these are friends of mine. Like, so it's like that idea that, like, you don't have to be a country club with your relationship. Yes. Be like, hey, it's just us. These are it's like, no, everybody's gonna, I got Phil that makes me better. I got Gabe that makes me better. I got Jermaine that makes me better. And Phil, Gabe, and Jermaine don't necessarily hang out with Aaron outside of when I'm putting something on in my house. And that stuff's okay. You gotta just see that there's different dynamics to friendships, and that's okay. But for us, and what I've publicly done, is I've said, hey, these are the three guys that on a marital front, this is who I'm rocking with. This is who I look up to in many different ways. This is who I believe I could be myself with, but also share my skeletons with. Mm-hmm. And they're going to love me for me. Yeah. And when I've made that decision, it's like, and I feel, and my wife says, hey, I could do the same. That's what's important, because there are times Ashley becomes friends with girls, and we go on couples things, and I tell Ashley, you could be friends with her as much as you want, but the husband, there's nothing there. I'm sorry. No more couples
and
dinners.
That's okay.
This is not my jam right now.
Yeah.
And, right.
Yeah.
And that's
we can't
okay.
guilt our spouse
Yeah.
on their off day.
Yeah.
To do something that they don't really want to do.
Yeah.
But it benefits you, so you have fun. You
do it.
Right.
Do it and invite them to your thing. Invite them to our house for our kid's birthday party. I'm good for that. But it's like I have guys that I'm bearing, and someone has asked me before, like, hey, my wife really gets along with your wife. I would love it if we had something like that. And I would just be that's happened before, that I've been very honest, and I was just like, hey, I've already opened my life. Like, I have that crew that I have told myself that's who I'm transparent with. Mm-hmm. That's where, like, I would love to be your friend, but the idea, like how close our wives are, I don't want to force that. I'm not looking to compare that. And then sometimes they get it, or other times they're like, oh, well, that, I'm offended by that. But I'm being honest with you.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I love you, but we don't click in that way, and that's okay. And Ashley has done the same. There's guys I rock with, and Ashley's just like, yeah, I don't have anything in common with the wife. Or a lot of times in the pastor world, I'll meet other pastors, and I'll be like, dude, I love this guy. Like, want to hang, blah 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 blah. And then Ashley gets with their wife, and the wife is just like hates ministry and church, and is just like, I hate this whole thing. Ashley's like, I'm never hanging out with her again because I love serving in church.
Right.
I love ministry. So, and then I'll just be like, okay, well, that's just me and him friendship.
Yeah.
That's okay. There we go. So, yeah, that's great. All right, y'all. Hey, well, we made time. Beyond I Do is a shorter show. It's not like Beyond the Letter.
That flew by.
So, welcome.
fast.
We already gone almost an hour. Almost 55. How long have we gone?
43 minutes.
43 minutes, pretty much 45. Go from 45 to an hour. So, man, closing thoughts?
good stuff.
I know Nathan said grateful for y'all. Anyone else got closing thoughts? Anyone else got anything stand out, last moments that Gerald said at his thing that you took away with? Because those are nuggets.
Gee.
Yeah, I got one. It's
Okay.
because we were talking about it. who you marry determines your ministry. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people who they marry someone and it just went left field. They, yeah.
Yeah. I just got hired in ministry. This makes me think about when I first got hired in ministry, me and Erica was fighting a lot about what ministry meant for us. You do that. Fight, blah, blah. And there was one time we were really fighting. I'm like, hey, neither one of us know about ministry, but I'm the only one that's asking questions about it. You need to have the courage to call Pastor Cindy.
Yeah.
So she did. And Pastor Cindy answered from Hawaii. That was a great moment for our marriage. That was a great moment for ALFC, for the Levies. That was because it's like, my wife called Pastor Cindy, and then Pastor Cindy gave my wife some encouragement and gave her some direction, and it really helped us.
Yeah.
So that is so true. But I think so for one, I had to have enough courage to challenge that. Like, we both don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm the only one asking questions, though. Who are you going to ask? But then she had to have the humility and the reflection to be like, all right, I'm going to try it. And then your mom had to have the openness and the availability to pour. So there were so many things of dynamics where we could have stayed stuck if we didn't share that with nobody.
Yeah.
Or if ALF Patriot now didn't have the value of marriages and ministry together, well, I don't have time for that. I'm in Hawaii.
Yeah.
No, that was modeled.
Yeah.
So then like now the Levies really want to model that as well.
Yeah.
Or my mom could have totally screwed it up and said, I don't know, that's Diego's thing. And then Erica would have been like, see, she don't care about this thing either, right? She's the one on top. Because I was just at something when we were at a pastor's thing, and it went to the wife about like dream and ministry, like for the church, blah, 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 blah. And she was just like, oh, I'm just here to support him. I don't really like getting involved in church at all. Wow. And it was just like, well, anyway, let's not talk to, like, what are you doing? You're at a ministry thing.
Wow.
Like, please don't support him. Like, because you're making it worse for all of us. Like, now my wife doesn't even want to talk to you anymore, like, so it's that. My wife could have told, and I've even seen that in ministry, like wives that are just like, people think because one spouse is in ministry, they both got to, clearly be aligned on this thing, right? So I've seen over the years, like, a woman's on staff and then a guy will go to the husband, hey, how do you, and the husband's like, I don't know, I don't even read my Bible, I don't know, and it's like, it actually does a lot of damage. Yeah. And so even for us over the years, we've realized, like, if you're bringing someone on the team, how much the spouse understands the love for the church, not our church, but the capital C church, God's church, the love for ministry, the love for sacrifice. Like, if they can't articulate that, they could potentially be the spouse could potentially be a really terrible hire, because all day when they come home, the spouse is going to be like, "You're what? Yeah, I've sat down.
Changing.
What do you mean? They're starting a new service. Why?
That
we do this at that time all the time. What do you mean? It's like if you ever took step foot in ministry, whatever you got hired doing or whatever schedule you got given when you got hired, it like 90% of it's changing the first 12 months.
If the church is growing.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a naivety in that way. That's a good one. Anyone else got a good closer one of what Gerald said? To me, my standout was, your wife doesn't have to have your best word or your most words. She just needs to have your best words.
That's a good
that
one.
was a really good one. Anyone remember another one? There was a ton. It was just the overall feeling.
I would say something he didn't say, but you saw it. His life preached. He's been married 48 years, and his wife is still leading in children's ministry.
Yeah.
He's teaching. His wife is right there. So that preaches for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be married if we're not in heaven. Like, 48 years, and I'm doing this with my wife.
For sure. Yeah, and he said another thing. I'm trying to remember the words around, but he was talking about like the stress of ministry. He was talking about like when he had to bury someone, when he was also going through like a suicide, and it was something his wife critically said. I'm trying to remember it, but it stuck out to me. It would be all in my notes, but I have to look back at it. But
I think it's how you say it.
It was how
the approach?
Yeah,
his approach was, you're building a tent here, and she responded and said, "Hey, your approach needs to be more nice," or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
it was something like she checked his like your words were right. It was something like that. But you're how you're making people feel when they hear
For
it or
sure.
something
There you
like
go.
that.
Yeah,
And yeah.
His openness to correction from his wife and
Yeah.
him embracing his wife's gentleness in that moment. He was in a heavy season. He didn't want to make a decision. And he said, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be where I'm at in ministry. So
Yeah,
that's the first time
for
I'm
sure.
hearing him share
Sure.
like some of his heaviness and what his support looked like
Yeah.
in that season.
Yeah. Because if you meet Pastor Gerald's no chump. He's a man's man. Like if you meet Gerald, he's steak, potatoes.
For sure.
He always has an answer for everything. He's very wise. So the idea of seeing a tenderness to him for anyone, like I've known him since I was 13. Like I've never heard him be tender before. That was the first time it was like, oh wow, like the husband I see why you've made it married this way, because your public persona is a very decisive, leadership driven figure, but with your wife, the hat, it's like you wear a different hat with your wife. Like you know how to switch the hat, and you know how to be leader, you know how to be husband, and that was really dope. He talked a lot on the hats. Well, we have a board meeting coming up. He's on our board, and I just talked to Nancy about trying to see if he would sit down and talk with us. So whether it be Beyond the Letter or Beyond I Do, we'll see what happens. But we're asking him if before our Wednesday night service he'll come on. So
that'd be amazing.
Awesome.
maybe he will.
Yeah.
And we could touch some of the marriage stuff. But if there's any leadership driven people, he does a round table every March at our church, which I've asked him to do those marriage sessions. So if anyone's interested in that, just send us a DM and we can tell you the link. He'll talk about all things leadership, but he will for us talk about these lessons we're talking about. So
And he
it'll
has
be
a
dope.
leadership podcast that's just incredible.
Gerald Brooks
Yeah.
Leadership
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Beyond I Do.
Peace.
Peace out. Thank you.